Hey, I'm Dieter and this is a rough rules video for the Castles of Burgundy. I've set up just one player's area here, although everybody will have one of these maps. There are a few that come in the game, each with a slightly different design. It doesn't really matter which one you use, but this is the starting one that everybody can use. The game is played over 5, they call them phases, A through E, each consisting of 5 turns. At the beginning of each phase, you set up the board. So as you see, there are lots of spaces, and we take these 5 goods here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They'll be used in just a moment. And depending on the number of players, we've gone with 2. You put a different number of tiles out on the board, just like this. So you can see that the only spaces left available are numbered 3 or 4. You would fill those in a 3 or 4 player game. You can also see, hopefully, that each section is determined by a number. So there is a picture of a die face going 1 to 6 going around. That will become important in just a moment. And we've also set up the turn order track along the boat track. Whoever's on top, if it's a tie, goes first. And we have the score track going all the way round. Also, as part of setup, everybody receives 3 random goods, their starting castle, and the first player gets 1 worker, second player 2, third 3, and so on. And everybody gets 1 silver. Each phase consists of 5 rounds, and a round is very simple. At the beginning, everybody rolls their dice. You have 2 in your own colour, and the first player also has the white die, and we see what we get. The result of the white die determines where the round good goes. So in this case, we're using the first one. The white face was number 2, so this goes into box number 2, which is associated with this area. That is associated with an action later on. And I now have 2 numbers, a 1 and a 2. Everybody will be examining their dice, and then we take it in turns for the round to use both of our dice. You basically only have a couple of choices as to what to do with them. You can purchase a tile from the main board and put it in your planning area with that number. So with the number 1, I could take either of the tiles in the number 1 area, 2, so on and so on, and you can hold up to 3. Or you could build from your planning area into your map. Now, the 2 conditions with placing it into your map: the colour of the tile needs to match the space. It must be touching at least 1 tile that already exists on your map, and you need to match the number. That's how you do it. So let's say I use my number 1 to take this blue tile. It comes into my planning area, and then good, there is a number 2 blue spot next to my starting castle, so I use my number 2 to put that here. Whenever you build a tile into your area, it triggers an effect. They're all listed here. I won't go over them all necessarily, but say let's take the blue, because I've just done it. I would move further on this track, so I'm definitely in first, and I would get to import goods from any one of the areas. Currently there's only this one, but I don't have space for any, so I'm not going to do that, but I could. If it was animals, animals score based on how many of a single type you're adding to your area. Let's say this one was here, that's worth 4 points, and then if I built this one later, it would be 4 plus 3, so I'd get an additional 7 points, and we'd mark that as we go round. Buildings, these brown ones, each have a different effect, generally about getting tiles for free, or building tiles for free, or getting new workers or silver or any such thing. And the yellow tiles are for either endgame scoring or effects that only you will have going forward in the game. They're all explained in the back of the rulebook. I won't do that now. Another option that you can do with your dice, let me just put that back, is to discard them to get 2 workers. So I could discard that die and just take 2 workers from the supply and add them to my area. Why do I want workers? Workers give you a plus or minus to your die roll, and you can use as many of them as you like. So really I want to take this thing in the number 4. I could use my 1 plus 3 workers to get that thing in the number 4. That would then count as a 4. The other thing you can do is to ship goods. So let's say I've got my number 2. You can see as well, all of these goods have a different number on them. This one is a number 2. As many 2s as I'd stacked here, I would be able to sell them with my number 2, and I would get a silver plus a point for every one that I shipped. Silver, like workers, is an additional form of resource that you can use as for a bonus action. If you've got 2 silver, you can spend those to take one of the tiles from the middle. They're not associated with any number. They're made up of all different kinds of tiles, but they are separate from the usual stack. So I couldn't take any of the outside ones. I'd need to take one of the middles. And again, it would come to my planning area. As the game goes on, you are going to fill entire sections. So this brown section only has 1 in it. I have completed it. That is worth a number of points based on 2 things: how big the size of the area is and which phase we are in. Because this was a 1, we look at our track, a 1 size space is worth 1 point. 2 would be worth 3, 3 would be worth 6, 4 would be worth 10, this would be worth 15, and then other maps have larger groups all the way up to 8, which is worth 36 points, plus the points for the round. Because it gets easier to fill spaces as the game goes on, these points decrease. So right now I would get 1 point plus 10, I'd get 11 for filling that. Once I have used my 2 dice, it goes to the next player to use theirs, and then if there are more players, it goes round the table. Once everybody has used all of their dice, it moves to the next round. At the beginning of the next round, we check who's in front. Still me. So again, we all roll our dice, and I would roll the white one and add this to the appropriate space. Once 5 rounds have taken place, that is the end of the phase. We would clear all the tiles from the board, put out new ones, and we would use this stack of goods now, and the bonus would only be 8 points. At the end of phase E, we do end game scoring. You will have been scoring points during the game, but a few other things will score you points as well. Each unsold good tile, so any face-up goods on your board, are worth 1 point each. Any silver left on your board is worth a point. Every 2 worker tiles you have are worth a point. And as I said, some of those yellow tiles will give you end game scoring as well. For instance, this one will give you 4 points for every of that brown building you have in your map. Once all the endgame scoring has been totted up, you see who's in front, they have the most points, and they are the winner. And that's basically all you need to know. The rules are very simple. They've got a nice appendix with all of the different powers and cards that you could need. So anything extra will be in here. That's how to play the Castles of Burgundy.